Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the BestBall Roundtable. This is the U.S. Open, 2024 U.S. Open recap here on the BestBall Roundtable. Got another great group. Joe could not make it, our resident Pinehurst expert, so he's doing Pinehurst Resort member things tonight. So, Joe, we miss you. But let's go around the horn and say, hey, Jonathan, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. We got a chance to go on Saturday, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But I'll be honest, I am just here to listen to David Kirsch and how he feels about the weekend. David, we'll kick it over to you, buddy.
Look, there were some things that were said. Some people said that a lot of what my takes were maybe the best takes that they'd ever heard on a podcast. However, after talking to the same lawyer that Scotty Scheffler had, at the end of the podcast, Robbie may or may not have picked Bryson, and I may or may not have said he had no chance, and completely criticized the pick. So for that, I have a prepared statement that goes as follows. I'm stupid. You're smart. I was wrong. You were right. You're the best. I'm the worst. You're very good looking, and I'm not very attractive. So with that, I think we could kick it off to our recap.
Oh man,
that's perfect.
I think we're good. Let's call it a night. Let's call it a night.
Not going to be better than that.
That's it. No, let's talk about it. It was, regardless of who you were cheering for, I think it was entertaining. Jonathan and I were there on Saturday. We'll talk a little bit about that, but let's jump into. First, let me give a shout out to Western Birch. They are a great friend of the show. They make incredible golf tees. Again, Jonathan and I were there, and we saw, after a pro would hit, maybe break one of the marshals would come grab it and toss it to a kid. I'm sure many of those were Western Birch golf tees. They're very durable. You can get them custom colors. I know Seth McWhorter did a special U.S. Open one this year. It was pretty sweet. But yeah, go to westernbirch.com, get your tees, get them customized however you want, and go play some golf. So, yeah. All right, recap. Bryson DeChambeau wins the 2024 U.S. Open. It makes his second win. Let me give some stats. I do want to give a shout out. I posted this today on the Best Ball accounts. Today's Monday when we're doing this recap. We were very fortunate to be considered virtual media members. We applied to be on site in a media capacity, but we did not get that credential, but we did get virtual access. So we were able to sit in on interviews and have access to a lot of the content that folks like Jeff Marsh and others that were doing photography and videos for the U.S. Open provided, which was really, really cool. So thanks to the U.S. Open, USGA for giving us that access. It was a ton of fun. One of the things we got was stats from the Elias Sports Bureau. So a couple of stats that just stood out to me after the final round. So Rory is the fifth player to finish back-to-back, or finish second in back-to-back years. The fifth player to finish second in the U.S. Open in back-to-back years, joining Bobby Jones, Ben Hogan, Arnold Palmer, and Jim Furyk. Arnold Palmer actually did that twice. So, typically that's pretty good company when you just think of those names to be in, finishing second back-to-back years in the U.S. Open. Here's a stat that's incredible. Xander Schauffele finished tied for seventh. That is a streak in U.S. Opens of finishing in the top 15 for 8 years in a row. 8 years in a row in the top 15 of the U.S. Open. The only other players it says with a streak as long since 1920 are Jack Nicklaus, Ben Hogan, Bobby Jones, and Sam Snead, another great group of folks. I'm sure we'll get to some other stats here as well, but let's open it up. Congrats to Bryson DeChambeau. Incredible. Guys, what do you think? Kirsch, let's start with you. Give us your take on Bryson winning the U.S. Open.
So if we're gonna, I've been thinking a lot about this.
Let's start with this, then we'll talk about some of the other guys. Yeah.
Well, starting with him, I do think I think it's complicated. I think that it was fun to root for or see a villain per se, somebody that people have rooted against and kind of have the turn to win some of the crowd back over. I thought that was an interesting thing. I think that there's a lot of things we're not saying out of convenience anymore, which is somewhat bothersome. But um, he played around the greens and hit so many good shots. I mean, he couldn't find the fairway yesterday. I think he was 5 out of 14 by the end of the day. But he found a way. The up and down that he made on 8 was more difficult than the one he did on 18. And conveniently NBC may have missed that one in one of their commercial breaks. But the up and down that he had, and I think the thing that I said very clearly in the pre-show was he doesn't have any touch around the greens. He's always shown that he doesn't have touch around fast greens, and he got up and down from everywhere in everything. And I do think that there is something to be said for the positive attitude that he showed and not letting the rub of the green bounces get to him. And the display, I thought Saturday was better than Sunday. I thought Sunday it was a true U.S. Open type of day, but I thought his round on Saturday, it felt like he was playing a different game with the way he was hitting some of his irons on the back nine on Saturday.
Yeah, Jonathan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, there are times where you feel like someone lost the tournament and times where you feel like someone won. And I agree with Kirsch. On Saturday, he won. Like, he did exactly what you want a champion to do. And then on Sunday, he did, again, exactly what you want a champion to do, which is never fall apart, never become flustered. In those moments where I'm sitting here thinking, you hit a 3-wood, 340 yards, why the crap are you pulling out a driver again and again and again? And, it takes skill. It always takes luck, because how many times, if he went back and hit those same shots into the Wiregrass, how many times did he come out clean? He came out clean almost every single time. And of course, I was watching on TV, and they're like, he's got another shot. It's not that bad. Even on 18, I was like, we were just there on Saturdays, like, why? He could lay up easily, give himself 120, 130 yards. Obviously, where the pin placement seemed to be playing so much easier than where it had the rest of the week. And we already knew that Rory had missed, and he just needed par. And yet he still pulled out that driver. So it was a lot of fun to watch him with the crowd, both in person and on TV. I saw some highlight this morning. I think he stayed in the dark. They were still hitting bunker shots on 18 with folks. So just really cool. Real, not real, we don't know, right? I don't know Bryson personally. I do think there's been a change. He's definitely,
very much not real.
Sure.
Very much.
But there is, he understands the social media aspect. He understands the crowd aspect. And I thought it was a great show. How about that? For golf, the PGA, and what you would hope would occur at a U.S. Open, it was a great show all around, including the golf course. I think the whole entire week led up to a really good Sunday finish.
Yeah, I agree. I think, Jonathan, you mentioned show, right? He's talked about the fact that he's an entertainer, right? People are buying tickets to go to these things, just like you would to a baseball game, football game, or whatever. You're going to be entertained. Kevin Van Valkenburg with No Laying Up, he was on site for them. He had a great article. I don't know if you guys have read it. Mm-hmm. I'll send it to you if not. But he went kind of minute by minute of the back nine of Rory and Bryson. I think he was with Bryson just to kind of watch his reaction. And one of the things you said, Kirsch, I think was, he didn't get flustered, or probably both of you said it, but he didn't get flustered. He said, when Rory hits a birdie, Rory started three shots back, and he's caught up, and now he hits a birdie to take the lead. And it said that Bryson sees that because he's paying attention, and is kind of head nodding, like, all right, let's go. Like he knew what he had to do. So he embraced the moment well, and delivered. You say the eighth shot, or the eighth hole, his up and down was incredible. That bunker save on 18, which of us is not putting it either still in the bunker, just out of the bunker, or into the clubhouse, right?
Clubhouse.
Jonathan, clubhouse?
Clubhouse, because it's 55 yards, so you're thinking, that's a strong swing. There's no way I don't just absolutely rip that thing into the front porch on somebody in a rocking chair was going to have my ball.
Well, and I think he said it right. I think for me, as I'm thinking about it from a tournament golf standpoint, you're going to get that ball short of the green, or it's going to be perfect. The way that green is shaped, it's almost like that. So if he clears the false front, it's going to funnel to the pin, like it did. And if it happens to spin or check or stay short, it's going to go back to where Rory's ball was at the front of the green. And it was awesome. I'd also like to highlight the birdie on 17 on Saturday, because he went from a 4-shot lead to a 2-shot lead after that double on 16 and turned right back around and hit one of the best iron shots of the day right in on 17 and then poured in that putt. And I think that, carries into that Saturday win. But, and while we're still on Bryson, he's so full of it. And I don't understand, and this is a personal flaw, but I don't understand why he gets a pass for it. And why we're all in on this fun-loving. On his YouTube channel in 2022, he says the following. Me wearing the cap. Yeah, I loved it. I've loved it ever since I loved Hogan. And I started to shoot, 12 or 13. When I was starting to go really low, I started wearing it because I wanted to be different than everybody else in the baseball cap. And Hogan was one of my idols. And then all week long, we had to hear, oh, no, I wore it because of Payne Stewart. I went to SMU because of Payne Stewart. He didn't even know Payne Stewart went to SMU until he was a sophomore at SMU. Like, I get the entertainment aspect of it, but it is so infuriating that we just allow the BS. If he wants to go and ham it up to the crowd, if he wants to give kids autographs on the tee box, I'm here for it. You want to start pumping up the crowd on the 71st hole, I'm here for it. Do all of those things. The Ryder Cup is my favorite sporting event. Interact. Do it. But if you are going to openly lie, I have a problem with that. Like, I just don't think you should get a pass for that. You know why he wants everybody to come back together? Like, he even said it again. He's like, oh, we need to bring everybody back together. Hopefully this helps bring. Because he took a giant bag of money. And now there are more people that watch his YouTube page than Live Golf added up this year on American TV. One of his YouTube videos gets more views than all of the final rounds of Live added up. Final round of Live Houston had 140,000 viewers. I mean, like, nobody's watching, and that's why he wants to come back. He's already got the big bag of money, so let's come back. Like, it's all a show, and it's all fake. And, it just drives me crazy.
Well, let me ask you this. Like, could he be influenced by someone like Phil Mickelson, right? Because Phil, for the longest time, was the lovable guy, like thumbs up to the crowd, like playing up, signing autographs and everything. But then you kind of heard behind the scenes, like, maybe he wasn't the nicest guy. Maybe all that was a show for the cameras and everything else. Like, do you think Bryson's picked up on some of that, like play to the cameras, play to the crowd, because of what you said? Like, he's gone and he wanted that attention?
100%. 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Okay. All right. Well, there was another guy in this drama that we watched over the weekend, Rory McIlroy. I want to go on the record and say it wasn't choking. Like, I've heard so many people say he choked. It's golf, right? Like, he missed 18. That was a hard putt. He put himself in a bad spot, but I wouldn't say he was choking. 16, he missed a putt he probably should have really made. But I wouldn't say he choked. I would say it's golf. He missed shots that all of us probably would have missed. I guess overall, what do y'all think about Rory's performance in the U.S. Open this year? Jonathan?
Well, what was it, like 459 in a row that he had made from within 3 feet? Is that what it was? 5 feet, something like that?
It was a lot, yeah.
I made it to 5 in my backyard on my putting green. 5 in a row and the 6th one lipped out. So I don't fault any of these guys for misses, especially when, as we know, the U.S. Open is designed to make them fail, right? It's not designed like Valhalla so that everyone gets to hit a shot that looks amazing and lands a couple feet from the pin and everyone's excited about high scores. I would like to point out -6 was my guess. Kirsch told me it would be a 0, so that's 0 for 2 on Kirsch guessing things. The thing about Rory is it choking? Is it not? you're not that good. You just miss. And it's not, the problem is that we think about the 2 or 3 shots that we saw on TV on Sunday, and it doesn't account for the fact that we're on day 4. He would probably tell you, well, if I had played this shot differently on Thursday and this shot differently on Friday. I mean, how many times do we go out and play golf? All right, listener as well. And you're like, well, if I had just not 3-putted on those 6 holes, then I would have had a great score. And so professionals are the same way. They're just a different level, right? They are looking at obviously a 3-foot putt that they missed, but they're also looking on the fact that they left two shots right of the green whenever they had it nailed in at 137, right? Those types of things are true too. So I think it's good. I thought it was great that he didn't do an interview, because that is the competition part, right? Like, you're so upset, you're so disappointed. I know some people are like, well, he's a professional, he should stand up there and answer questions. Nope. The real life is you just poured your heart out for 4 days and it broke. And so probably wouldn't have said anything nice. And so you might as well just, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So,
but don't you think he was just devastated? Like,
yes.
he just spent 4 days plus practice rounds, like pouring his heart into this thing. He's had the weight of the world, the weight of the PGA, the weight of a major void or drought, maybe you want to say. And he was so close again. Yeah. Don't you think just emotions built up, and like, I don't know. If I'm upset, like, I find it hard to talk to people, much less talk to a bunch of cameras and stuff. Kirsch, I mean, do you agree? Do you think he should have stuck around and done an interview?
So this is going to work out well for podcasting. He didn't stick around because he choked, and he knows that. There isn't another player in the top 25 who played the last 4 holes, Saturday and Sunday combined, 15 through 18, more than 2 over par. Bryson had a double in that section of 8 holes, and not one player in the top 25 played those 8 holes in more than 2 over par, and Rory did them in 5 over. At the end of the day, he couldn't close the deal on Saturday, and he couldn't close the deal on Sunday. And the reason was that he, in my opinion, he was putting too much pressure on himself. On Saturday, or Friday, Thursday, there we go, whatever day the first day was, Thursday, he went out, he was 4 under par going into 18. He hit 3-wood off the tee. He smoked it to the middle of the fairway. He wedged it up to 25 feet, and he walked in a birdie putt. Playing with Bryson adjacent to him both days, he hits driver on 16 and 18. Misses the green on 15 both days. Misses a 2-foot 6-inch putt, a putt inside 3 feet for the first time in 490 something tries. We said he had a 3-foot 4-inch putt, and you can say, hey, where do you leave? Eli and I talk about it all the time. Where do you leave that chip shot from the front of the green? Below the hole. Below the hole. He didn't hit the perfect chip that he wanted to. It didn't have the right check and speed on it. It went a little bit past the hole, and he left himself. And if you go back and listen, Smiley, they asked him what's the read, and he said it's inside left. And if you really are just trying to make it, you could talk yourself into a straight putt here. That's how hard he was anticipating Rory hitting that ball. And then Rory came up and just tried to will it into the hole with gravity because he choked. He didn't have the muscle memory after 10 years of not being able to close the deal. After losing to Wyndham by 1 last year, he didn't have it. And I'm sorry, if Bryson skips out on the media, I'd kill him. I'd crush him for it. And just because Rory stood up for the tour, Tiger Woods took it every single time from the media. Every single time. What's an endearing moment from 06 at Wingfoot? Phil Mickelson standing in front of the media saying, I'm so dumb, I can't believe I did that. We didn't get that. You didn't get that moment of that. And that's part of the sport. I mean, yesterday was one of the best sporting days we're going to have all year long. And to Jonathan's point, Eli and I talk about it with Abby all the time. If Eli goes out and shoots 59, the first thing he's going to be able to tell you is like, man, if I'd have made that other putt, I'd have shot 58. That's just how golf is. But he had an opportunity to tell his side of the story or show that, Bryson stood up at Valhalla and spoke to the media. you can't want all of these things and tell everybody how awesome you are and how bad everybody else is, and then not stand up there and face the music when you're the one that lets it down.
Doesn't that speak somewhat to, though, the fact that whatever picture we want to paint of people, right? For years, there was the perfect picture of Tiger and who he was and all this kind of stuff. Then his life unravels, and there you have it. We don't know who these guys are. Like, we see them on TV. You follow articles. There's some sort of filter that's always involved. I mean, even down to whether or not they're live cast and they're catching them dropping F-bombs and stuff like that on TV. And so, like, in that moment, did he show his true character? Or, does he get the pass because he is Rory? Do we all feel bad because, golly, it would just be so gut-wrenching if that was us and that had happened. I've never wanted a playoff more than whenever Bryson hit that ball, and this might be the real reason. You think about like Rory in that moment. They're in whatever crappy little room they're in. They could have at least given a decent seat. They're at these terrible tables, terrible seats, and you see him hit that ball over to the left-hand side. He's got to be thinking, I've got a chance. We're going to go head-to-head. We're going to have a showdown. And then it doesn't happen. So you kind of wonder, like, was there just so much emotional change from one to the other? I mean, obviously falling apart, I think 2 or 3 bogeys in the last three holes or something like that. But then thinking, man, I've got it. I'm going to have a chance because of this mistake. And then just the floor falls out from underneath you.
Yeah, if you look at where he was, right? He just missed 2 putts in the last 3 holes. He 3 over in the last 4 to put himself in this position where it was out of his hands. And Jonathan, like you're talking about, he's sitting there and he sees Bryson drive it left, and then they don't give him relief, which I completely agree with.
Oh,
but you see his ball, but you see his ball against a root, and and you're sitting there. If you're Rory, you're like, all right, well, that's a really bad lie. And you're all right, well, he got it out, and he's got a 55-yard bunker shot. There's a good chance he can't get up and down. And then he does it, and as soon as he hits it within, 4 feet or something like that, and he's got the uphill putt that Rory probably should have had. Rory's probably thinking, it's over, I blew it. I agree with you guys. I wish he would have spoken to the media. There were opportunities. There were plenty of interviews done with players where it was one-on-one with a camera. You didn't even have to answer questions.
Right.
Like, you could have given a statement, briefly answered the one reporter's question, and then gotten out of there. What's y'all's take? And let's not spend much time on this, but not even maybe going to shake your opponent's hand. I mean, there's tons of sports now where you see teams walking off the court before the final buzzer of a championship game. Do you think he should have gone out there? I know Bryson was jumping all around and running around, so maybe not that. Maybe to see him later in the locker room or something. But do you think he should have at least in person acknowledged and said, "Good job, Bryson"?
No, I wouldn't say in person. Sorry, Jonathan. I wouldn't say in person, because a lot of times if you just happen to be finishing 3 groups ahead of that, you're not going to stick around, especially if you can't stand Bryson, which he clearly can't for a variety of reasons. You just lost to that guy. But I think it goes back to the, not to beat up, to beat up NBC. It goes back to who was their post-round interviewer. Like, that's where CBS gets it right with Amanda Balionis. She gets all of those guys. She takes her job very seriously. She does a great job being prepared. They all trust her with the questions she's going to ask. Wouldn't it have been awesome to listen to Tony Finau give an interview on what these guys are going to face on the 18th hole when he came off, or when whoever else was up, Zach Blair that was coming in, all of those people that were coming in and finishing at even 1, 2 under. Hey, what are these guys facing when they come into 17 and 18? Give us that perspective. They didn't have that. They had nothing. They had nobody to get these guys. And I think that's how you could have saved, if she's there, if this is a CBS broadcast and Rory's not going to blow her off. He's going to give her at least 3 questions. She's going to give him every out so that he doesn't have to answer anything tough. He checks the media box. He gets to say, hey, Bryson went out there and won it. At the end of the day, I just didn't have enough. He gets to walk away. It's as much on NBC as it is on him, because the only other thing is to go to the scrum where you have to face multiple reporters. And I don't think he wanted to do that. And I think there could have been a balance, but no, I don't think he needed to go shake Bryson's hand.
Well, he's posted late this afternoon. We're recording this on a Monday afternoon or Monday evening. He posted something. He regrets missing those 2 putts on 16 and 18, and then he's announced that he's not going to play again until the Scottish Open, right before the Open Championship at Royal Troon. So that means he's missing this week a signature event, an elevated event on the tour, which I guess you're allowed to do one a year if not taking a fine for it. I thought about this too. We talk about PGA Tour versus Liv, Rory versus Bryson. Do you think the schedule, the way the PGA Tour has it set up, do you think it is detrimental to their players to perform at their best during the majors? Because Rory played at RBC Canadian the week prior to, and they're expecting him to go play this week in the Travelers, and he played I think the week before that too. So, and then Bryson, who knows, he probably played like a charity event that they called a live event prior to. So do you think exhaustion figured into anything, Rory's decisions on the last few holes, as well as the weight of everything? How do you think that impacted the finish there?
I don't think it's not like I'm a cycling fan as well, so it's not like you're at the end of 3 Grand Tours and you don't have the legs, right? These guys are in great shape. Now, is there something to be said on the fact that they're playing one less round of golf week after week after week? Maybe if this were August, September, I don't think physically Rory had a problem to finish out. There is a lot of pressure on Rory, maybe somewhat self-imposed because of his stance originally with Liv, and then now trying to walk some of that back and be like one big happy family. And like David mentioned, DeChambeau's able to embrace the villain and then also be able to, in the exact same flip of the coin, be able to embrace like the guy that everyone loves and wants to cheer for. So you could tell he was playing a lot more loose, that's for sure. What I think, David mentioned CBS versus NBC, and maybe the PGA is the one in charge of this. Robbie and I were talking about it. I think everyone was wishing for it. Gosh, just put the two of them together in the final. I don't care what antiquated rule there is. This is TV. You want people to watch? Put the two of them side by side. Can you imagine if they'd been missing those putts like face to face on the same green? If we're walking past and there's USA chants through the crowd while Rory's coming through, just put them on the same one. That's the most. I don't understand it. I don't get it. It's dumb. It's an easy thing to fix. It wasn't like they were pulling somebody up from +1. Just make that happen, and everyone would have had a better Sunday. And maybe Rory answers it at that point and gets in his face, and some aggression happens, and they go at it. Then they make putts and they make shots. Just toe to toe would be so amazing.
And No Laying Up does some deep dives on majors, and they came out with this is a relatively new rule. The Masters used to put Arnold Palmer out if he was 20 shots off the lead. He would be the last person off so that fans would stick around longer to watch the leaders come in, so they would move these things around. The other one, they should 100% do this for both the Masters, the UK British Open presented by His Majesty the King, and the US Open. They should all have the top 2 amateurs play together on the last day, because that was another awesome storyline. Right. These guys they went all the way down to the 18th hole. Who's going back? Shipley had called a penalty on himself on Saturday. Yeah. They're just going back and forth. That was another awesome storyline. Put the 2 amateurs that are going for low am in the 5th or 6th to last group off, so that they can stay in the coverage window and you can see that duel as well. I 100% agree with you there.
Yeah, just all it is easy, add one clause. We can adjust if we decide we want to adjust.
Yep.
And leave it at that. We talked about Bryson. We talked about Rory. You mentioned choke on Rory. I don't agree with that. But I feel like 2 other guys kind of missed out. Cantley, this was it was paved. The road was paved for him to win the thing. He just didn't do anything. And Finau, he missed and had a couple of big numbers. The way he was playing, he could have been up there. He was finished up there after a great Sunday. But you talk about Jonathan, the things that happened on Saturday, Friday, Thursday. But we all remember the last few shots. Those 2 guys, I think, missed an opportunity just as much as Rory did. What do y'all think about that?
Well, we've been in a group chat all weekend long. So on Thursday, I think someone was at -5 or -6. I'm like, hey, Kirsch, what's going to happen with your no one's going to go high? And he's like, there's still a lot of golf left. I think that's what it is, right? In this particular scenario, we all knew what was going to happen to the course. We knew how they were going to play the pin locations. Saturday, they had that number 316, just like, hey, everybody, why don't you give this a shot, right? Let's see how bad you can screw this up. So I think it's all up and down, right? And it's the crazy part is that it feels just like our golf game, only infinitely better, but still the same. I go out on Thursday, or ours is usually like front 9, back 9, right? Front 9, you feel like you've never hit a golf ball in your life, and all of a sudden something happens at the turn, and you hit like 4 or 5 pars in a row, and suddenly you had a good background. So, these guys, they understand it. They understand the grind that put yourself somewhere in the mix to be available to play. But shoot, we were watching on Saturday where like the guys, I think somebody walked by, had started at +1 and we're like +14. We're like, oh my gosh, like your day's just shot. Next day, maybe no one knows. We weren't paying attention to them. Maybe they had a really good Sunday and it didn't matter because they were so far down. So
Matt Fitzpatrick did shoot 1 under on Sunday. It was
did he really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you brought up. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say you brought up Cantlay. Cantlay's best skill year in year out is his putting, and he lost 1.9 strokes to the field on Sunday. Yeah. Like, every time you looked up, he was hitting the ball closer than Rory, and Rory's walking away with a birdie, and he's walking away with a par. And there was, I think it was 9 maybe on the front 9 or 8 or 9 where he hits it close, and Rory's outside of him. Rory makes birdie, he makes par. There's another one where he chips it up, and Rory's 10 feet for par, and he's 3 feet for par, and Rory makes his, and Cantlay doesn't. I mean, Cantlay, this was an opportunity for him, and for him to lose 1.9 strokes to the field on Sunday alone putting is tough.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of those guys missed an opportunity. I mean, obviously everybody else. It's crazy to think that the U.S. Open over a 4-day stretch, and all tournaments do this, comes down to 1 or 2 shots. And again, it can happen anywhere within the 4 rounds. Thinking of Cantlay and Jonathan, I was telling Jonathan, maybe this is Robbie's like pet peeves, like the kind of back and forth, like stepping, like adjusting his feet on every shot he takes. I mean, people give Brian Harmon a hard time for waggle, right? For like waggling the club. Cantlay does it with his feet. Rory does it with his head. Like, I don't know how Rory doesn't have whiplash. Like, he looks at his line as many times as Brian Harmon is waggling his club. So, a couple pet peeves. I feel better. I got them out now. So,
check out Billy Horschel's putting routine.
Yes, Billy Horschel. Go back to Keegan when he's playing well now, and he's the defending champ here at the Travelers. But everybody has their little quirks. I wish they'd all figure out how to play a little faster, right?
Listen,
but they're professionals and really good. So,
if you need to tell me to get rid of my waggle, just say it. You don't have to come up with excuses and professionals.
No, you waggle like a reasonable number of times, but you play fast. Like, I appreciate that.
All right.
Yeah, I had a friend that says, and I'll paraphrase it to make it sound better. If you're going to stink fast, right?
Yep.
You could be the most enjoyable guy on the golf course to play with and still shoot over 100. That's fine. All right, so the question I got is: Rory going to win another major? Can he recover from this?
I think so. I mean, does it become a head game? If it does, there's 1,000 people that would gladly give him their psychiatric service in order to fix this. There has to be something to be said of a stable home life that has to play a factor in like being prepared to shut out everything that's going on, and that's been at least a roller coaster at best over the last couple of weeks. So he's not in his 40s. He doesn't have a physical condition that's, like Tiger, where you're not sure if he can walk for 4 days. So I don't think there's any reason to not think that he can figure that out at some point. And the reality too is it might not be an Open. It could be something where maybe it's okay if you miss a shot or two because you're already at 17 or 18 under. You know what I mean? Like it could be a situation where you just end up going so low it doesn't matter if you choke a couple strokes here and there.
Kirsch, is he going to win another major?
Right? He's going to win at Troon, right?
You think so?
Man, he finished, T5 last time around? Yeah, it was, and really he finished T2 to the third place guy. It was the Henrik and Phil show where they were clearly separated themselves from the rest of the field. I think by maybe even a dozen shots. But yeah, majors are so hard. They're
Right.
so hard, and eh, he's too good not to. I'm hoping that the time off and kind of getting the home stuff, because that just came out on Monday, right? That they were undivorcing, getting ready for divorce. So, nobody was there from the family, that to be there if he would have won on Father's Day. Like, he doesn't even have his kid there to come run out onto the green, and maybe chilling out and then going up to the Scottish Open and then back to Troon is exactly what he needs. Um, but
Let me
yeah,
ask this question,
I still
though.
think I still think he wins another one at some point.
Let me ask this question, because you've made a phrase, and everyone has this phrase for at least a half dozen golfers. He's too good not to win another one. At some point, don't you not win another one? I mean, there's just so many players where we keep
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, he's just too good not to win another one." They showed the statistics of how many people, what was it, Bryson, that won the U.S. Amateur and then also won two Opens. There aren't that many people that have won two Opens or two majors or fill in the blank. So everyone says, well, he's just too good. And yet, if we're looking at the clock, about 15 minutes ago, you called him the biggest choke job in professional golf. So either he's
May have paraphrased that a little bit stronger than what I said.
it's one or the other. You can't be too good and yet at the same time just choking away every single time because the pressure's too much in a major.
There's plenty of examples.
He has
in
won
sports.
4 of them.
Yeah.
When? How
It's
long
been a
ago?
while. It's been a while.
Been a while. Right. So I don't
That's
know.
all right.
I think he could, but sometimes you look at this kind of stuff and some random guy that hasn't ever done anything just has a week, and you can't stop that. So no different than sometimes you get in the grass on the right hand side and you've got no shot, and another time you've got a perfect shot. So I don't know.
Well, if Rory does win, this is another stat from Elias Sports Bureau. If Rory does come back and win at Troon, he will be, because Bryson is now the 7th player to do this, to finish one shot back at a previous major and then win the next one. So Rory would be number 8 in the list to do that. So when he wins at Troon, we'll be looking at more Elias stats, saying, there we go. And Kirsch, we'll be able to say, good job, you called it. All right, so I don't want to call it a choke, but thinking of other misses, right? Other opportunities where people have missed. And I didn't look it up, but I just remember Phil pulling out the driver years and years ago at the U.S. Open. He had it in the bag, pulls out the driver, hits it way in the trees. You think of Jordan Spieth. We thought he had back-to-back Masters in his pocket. He gets to hole number 12 and implodes. Can you all think of other ones that just stand out in the golf world that just are big misses where it seemed like things were going to happen the way you thought they would happen, or the way it was lining up, and then it changed?
Unfortunately, Rory at the Masters, like
Yeah.
that was like a complete fall apart. Not just miss a couple putts here and there. Like that was just a complete unwinding. So there's always someone. I think the difference is we're remembering what happens on Sunday. Somebody unwinds on Friday too. Somebody unwinds on Sunday. I mean, how many guys that we loved and have been watching golf most of our lives didn't make the cut? And that seems to be I think to Kirsch's point, they're hard. The majors are hard. And people that you're...
Valhalla wasn't.
I was waiting for you to say Valhalla wasn't all show. I was like, he's got to say Valhalla wasn't. But they're hard. And so, I don't know, like, yeah.
No, I mean, I thought of Spieth at St. Andrews. In I think that was 15. He had it. Adam Scott, he lost that felt a lot like this one where he had the lead with 4 or 5 to play, and I think he finished bogey, 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 bogey at that British to lose by 1. And I think of those obviously right away. Dustin Johnson 3-putting from 12 feet at Chambers Bay. He's got a putt to win. Then he had a putt to tie, and then he loses, and you're like, what just happened? That was quick. Yeah, those are the moments that kind of jump out.
Yeah. All right. So Pinehurst, Jonathan and I were there. Kirsch, let's first talk about, before we talk about our experience on Saturday. What did you think of Pinehurst as it hosted its fourth major, fourth U.S. Open, I should say, because it hosted other stuff. How do you think, now that it's in the rotation for being an anchor site for the U.S. Open, how do you think it stands up as a U.S. Open host site?
I think the USGA should lose their right to host the U.S. Open if it's not at Pinehurst #2 every 5 years. It should be the St. Andrews of the U.S. Open. It should be there every 5 years, and you could talk me into every 4, but every 5 years should be it is the most perfect place to host a June golf tournament and get the most predictable conditions for golf. We know we know long rough at Valhalla doesn't challenge them. We know that firm and fast does still challenge everybody. You have the dome greens, you have the sand turf, so it's going to handle water if there's the pop-up thunderstorms. It's going to be able to handle those type of conditions. The rough's not going to get too soggy because there is no rough. There's all of those pluses to the venue itself. And then, by all accounts, it was easy for easy for fans to get in and out and around. It was easy for locals to still be able to do the things that they needed to do. It showed awesome on TV. I mean, it looked incredible. By the end of the week, you knew every hole, and there's such a, there's what was the phrase? There's bands that create 10 great songs, but not an album. And then there's places that have there's bands that you go cover to cover and you are listening to an album being played and the journey that the band was on. And I feel like that's what Pinehurst is, right? There's no one hole that has the Pacific Ocean. There's no one hole that has an island green. There's no one hole that stands out on Tiger Woods' video game. But what it does is it builds and it tells a story and it asks you different questions. And it's a choose your own adventure book on every single hole. Okay, if you're going to do this, Rory, on the easiest hole on the golf course, if you're going to go for it in 2 with a 5-iron, then you better hit this exact shot. And if you don't hit this exact shot, these are the 5 things that could happen and you don't know which one. It could roll into this bunker. It could get stuck in a divot on the green, or it could end up in a footprint in the waste area. There's all of these things. And to me, it is the most perfect, challenging venue for today's major player.
Jonathan, let's get into it, man. We were there on Saturday.
Yep.
Do you agree Pinehurst is the perfect site, at least in your experience? This is your second tournament round that you've been to,
yep,
besides the Masters, right? Do you first? Let's go on this point. Do you agree that it should host at least one every 5 years?
Oh, 100% with that. I think you're right, Kirsch. Like, there isn't a hole that, especially with the way they were able to manage the tee boxes, there isn't a hole where you look at it and go, well, that's a gimme. Even whenever, like, number 3, I'll pick on it because we spent a lot of time at number 3. It was great to watch these guys hit 316 on Saturday. They're somehow hitting drivers with shape shots and landing it sort of on the green or not on the green.
Into the wind. Great shots after the fact. Just incredible. But then the next day it's like 370. And you can't get it there. So you got to play a completely different way. The one thing that I thought, I do have a personal vendetta against the course because I'm pretty sure it ruined my favorite pair of shoes. It's dirty and sandy everywhere you go. That's a separate thing. They could fix that for people. But the way they had to scramble in person and on TV was so much fun to watch because it wasn't as simple as, like, again, you're in the rough somewhere and it's deep and you just know it's deep, right? So that means the ball's going to react this way, and this way. You hit it into those extra the slots left and right of the fairway. You have no idea what it's going to be. I mean, we saw one guy hit a provisional. Even though it was marked and everyone knew where it was, he had to hit a provisional because he's like, I don't know what just happened. Rory that got saved because the crowd was there? If the crowd hadn't been there, we might not even be talking about him missing putts on the last 3 holes because he would have just been in jail. We were watching one guy on number 3 where he hit it so far right, we're like, there's just no way in the world. He's behind a tree. He's got no angle. Next shot, he's able to chip it up. So the scrambling activity that's out there really gets to show how good these guys are.
Robbie will remember his name. I can't for the life of me remember. He hit a shot over on number 3. It's on the cart path, like literally where everyone's been walking and driving. And he puts his club this flat to the ground with no opportunity to get underneath it. And it's this amazing flop shot. So like that part right there, the skill set that we got to watch of these professionals being challenged was a lot of fun.
And David Puig, a very young Spaniard guy who has gone over to
the Olympic team.
Yeah, gone over to the Live Tour. Yep.
Robbie, were you surprised that the sand hills of North Carolina were sandy?
Not at all.
Oh, okay. No, just a Jonathan thing.
Listen.
I wore old shoes, knowing that it was going to be a disaster. I did wear, I think one of the plays of the day was wearing pants.
Yes.
Jonathan and I both wore pants. The pants were very, very dirty and sandy, but my legs were not, and they were not burned because it was hot. I mean, pants were breathable. We don't have to get into all that, but pants were breathable. I was fine temperature-wise. It just kept my legs from not getting burned and legs completely covered in dirt because Jonathan and I had a 2.5 hour ride home. Jonathan tack on another hour and a half after that. So, no, I was not surprised that it was going to be very sandy. So
I was a little surprised, I'll be honest. Like I know it's sandhills, but I thought you're walking somewhere. Surely there's like a clean path. There's no clean path. You're just going to be dirty and dusty, and you're going to taste grit in your mouth.
Clean path is the fairway.
Day. Well, I know, but we didn't get a chance. We thought about it on Saturday, after the last group came through. We're like, there's no one here. Maybe they have twilight rates, but they didn't have twilight rates.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, this was your first tournament besides the Masters. That's pretty good. Your second tournament, and both of them are majors that you go to.
Right.
Just give your overall impression of Pinehurst and being at a tournament and just some of the things that you saw, liked, enjoyed doing while we were there.
Yeah, stands are amazing. That's not a common thing that you find at the Masters, at least not the same way. There's nobody building things out that are just going to be like these monstrosities. They're not on every single hole, so you only have a couple spots. Cell phones were a little odd. There were a couple moments. Actually, Robbie, if you check out Golf Best Ball on Instagram, he's got a great photo of everyone taking a photo. So there's some of that gets lost. It's the Masters. I don't know how else to say other than if you've been, you understand. It's just different. But the access, there's probably too much drinking. That's probably my only big thing about some of these things. But my assumption is if I go to every major sporting event, I'm probably going to think the same thing. So overall, a great place to go. And even as difficult it was sometimes to walk in the sand and get your shoes dirty, we still got to see the entire course in a lot of different places and spaces. Fortunately, it's tight enough that there are a lot of spots that you can see 3 or 4 holes at a time. They're just in good places to see some fun deals. I would recommend it. It was compared to the Masters. Like we bought second-hand tickets on the black market. Not really. It was like approved, but still, it was not Masters pricing. Either you win the lottery for the Masters or you don't get to go. So if you're ever somewhere, it's worth going to a major if you're within. We were a 4-hour driving distance, and we took it on and did it. If you love golf, you should go to Pinehurst at some point in your life. The one thing we kind of talked about driving in on Friday was that everywhere you turn, there's a good-looking golf course. It just doesn't. And we stayed with some of Robbie's friends, and they listed 4 other courses besides Pinehurst that would be great to go and play. So go if you can. Go if you can.
Well, Kirsch has been. He's going back for the U.S. Kids Golf World Championships or whatever that Eli's playing in.
Are you caddying, Kirsch? Are you going to caddy for Eli right now? All right, just so you know, it's dusty on the side of the fairway. If you're in the fairway, it should be okay, but otherwise, it's pretty dusty.
Noted.
All right.
No, noted. All right, so we've talked about the experience. I guess my take on this, I thought it was incredible. It was fun being there with Jonathan. It's fun walking around seeing these guys. It was fun. I kind of looked at it from a different perspective. I mentioned that we had virtual media access, which I thought was really cool. It would have been really awesome to kind of have a inside the ropes, behind the scenes. We kind of did, but in a virtual way. But I was looking at the tournament from a different perspective. Again, Jonathan mentioned I took photos of like fans and people that were appreciating it because again, best ball, we love golf stories. Like I like seeing the groups of people that were there together watching, or Jonathan sleeping in the stands at 18 because he's been walking around all day.
That's right.
And it was an incredible experience to be there. We got to meet Matt Gibson, or not meet, we met him in person. We had Matt Gibson on the Whole Story podcast, who is the digital guy for Pinehurst. If you haven't seen his stuff, go to the Pinehurst Resort account on Instagram or Twitter and watch. It is incredible what they did. When we ran into them, they were filming something where they had old phones out on tables, and they were filming people that were calling and leaving messages for their dads for Father's Day, which came out yesterday. It was outstanding. He did a recap video today. Incredible. We saw Jeff Marsh. We saw, Matt Hahn, guys that we know and follow and have kind of built relationships with, and just saw them doing what they do. Jeff Marsh was out there with his free fly camera, taking incredible shots and stuff. He posted a video that they did and edited it up. So it was a different, fun experience for me. One, being there with Jonathan, it was awesome, but kind of pretending, we were virtual media guys on site, right? And it was a lot of fun. And I appreciate the opportunity to do it. I posted some thanks today for the folks that kind of helped make that happen. And we're just gonna keep going. Maybe next year at Oakmont we'll be behind the ropes. That's the goal. So, all right. So one thing I do want to point out, Jonathan and I were talking about this before. The American Express, we're not affiliated with them at all, but I just want to appreciate what they did. If you're a card member, you could go get a little radio, American Express radio. I probably shouldn't show it. We're supposed to turn that back in. But you could listen to the XM coverage. I thought it was outstanding. We were talking about that beforehand. They had great people. So unlike the Masters, where you're watching one hole, you hear a roar across the way. There's no scoreboards, there's no video. You don't know what happens until they flip a number up, and then you got to kind of imagine what just happened. Here you can have the XM radio, listen, and get somebody telling you what just happened. Excellent coverage. But also, they had refillable water bottles that they gave out, which was great because it saved you about $6 every time. Because again, unlike the Masters, concessions cost a lot more money. But the refillable water bottles and the hydration stations around were outstanding. So, all right. So let's start wrapping this thing up. Jonathan, we'll start with you. What are the lasting memories or thoughts or buzzwords or things that you will take away from the 2024 U.S. Open?
For all of the bogeys and pars and things like that, there were still so many pure shots. Like, so many shots that we as amateurs dream about. Maybe we think we're making them whenever we're on the driving range. And these guys got out there and over 4 days hit some incredible shots at incredible moments. And, there's only one winner, but there's also 50 guys that made some money and had a really good weekend. The one that sticks out the most, obviously, is Friday. Everyone was watching it, or at least saw the replays. Hole in one on the last one to make it. Like, what a great story. We got to watch him tee off as one of the first groups. So it doesn't matter what he finished. I have no idea what he finished for the week. It doesn't matter. It probably doesn't matter to him either because he hit the hole in one, got to go there. So just great shots all the way around, and makes me want to go out and hit some golf balls, right?
Kirsch, what's your memories?
I think a press conference one was when Rory sat there and he said, I think it was Kyle Porter from CBS asked the question, and he said, look, there was a shot I had today where I had to land it at 146. If I landed it at 148, it went over the green. If I landed it at 144, it went short. And I think the fact that we get to come back to Pinehurst in 5 years and that we know that up front and that we have this visceral of a memory that we're all going to have as golf fans of where were you on that Sunday watching that duel? Because, it clearly every single time it's there, it identifies somebody great. More times than not, it has come down to the wire, whether it was Campbell and Tiger, whether it was Tiger, Phil, and Payne, or now with Bryson, it has created and produced drama. The golf course That's probably the most exciting thing is to come back to that and that you'll have all of those memories. But Bryson's shot on 17 in Saturday is the one that's going to stick with me because as somebody who was watching it and hoping for a great Sunday, you were sitting there going, man, he's up 4. I really don't want this to become the Keimer situation where it's a runaway and it kind of kills the drama. Then he makes that double on 16. You're like, oh, all right, everybody's back in it. And then he just comes right back over the top with that dagger shot on 17, 180-yard pitching wedge or something like that. But it was just like, all right, that's a different level of golf. And I think seeing shots like that and knowing that the difference between that shot being awesome and that shot being ejected was probably 2 yards in either direction.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, it was fun. I think Jonathan and I laughed. One of the buzzwords we kept hearing was effective green size. They were 6,500 square feet on average size of greens, but that really wasn't the case because of how sloped the greens were. And like Jonathan was saying, like a yard here or two, long or short, meant you're rolling off the back or the front or the sides, and it happened to everybody. These are the best golfers in the world, and I agree. I don't want a Valhalla. I want to see them have to execute and hit really, really good shots. Bryson, whether you like him or you don't, whether you like whatever, he still took a golf club and hit a 55-yard bunker shot up to 4 feet and drained a putt to win the U.S. Open. So congrats to him. It was a lot of fun. Guys, this is a lot of fun to chat with y'all about the U.S. Open and kind of recap the thing. We will do it again. We've got the Open Championship from Troon coming up here in a few short weeks, and we will get together again. I might add a character or two into the mix. But for David and Jonathan, this is Robbie. Been listening to another Best Ball Roundtable talking about the U.S. Open. Thanks. Y'all have a good one.